This screencast will look at the basic calculations involving adjustable rate mortgages. The good news for you is that there are only really two such calculations. The first is, how do you find the initial payment when you take out an adjustable rate mortgage? And then the second one is, how do you find the new payment when the interest rate on the loan changes? So to calculate the initial payment, it's actually not any different than what you've done up to this point with fixed rate mortgages. The only thing that's different is you have to figure out what your initial interest rate actually is. So recall from the section on the legal side of mortgages that the interest rate on an adjustable rate mortgage is stated as the value of some sort of index rate plus what's called the lender's margin, which is their markup on the loan. So some of the common index rates are things like LIBOR, the London Interbank Offering Rate, what are known as Treasury CMTs or constant maturity Treasury rates. Now suppose the loan that we're going to work with uses the what's called 1 year CMT, once again the 1 year constant maturity Treasury rate, which is presently 1.31%. Let's suppose it's not, but let's suppose it's 1.31%. And let's suppose our lender's margin is at 275 basis points, which once again recall that 100 basis points is 1 percentage point, so 275 basis points is 2.75 percentage points. So to find our initial interest rate for this loan, we simply add together the value of our index rate, 1.31, plus the margin, 2.75, to arrive at an initial interest rate of 4.06%. Now, suppose we borrow $200,000 in an adjustable rate mortgage with 30-year amortization. Our initial payment then will be $961.76. Recall that the way you find this is your $200,000 is a present value. You take the 4.06 divided by 12 equals, enter that as your interest per year, and you have 360 payments. Compute payment and you get $961.76. So now the second part. How do we calculate the new payment when and if the interest rate on the loan adjusts? Recall that an adjustable rate mortgage has some sort of initial period where your interest rate stays at the initial rate. This could be as short as 1 month or as long as 5, 7, or even 10 years. So let's suppose in our loan we were able to lock our payment in for 3 years. This means that for the first 3 years of the loan, the interest rate is that 4.06% and our monthly payment is the same every month. And let's suppose that during those 3 years, the value of the 1 year CMT went from our 1.31% up to 5%. So the question now is, we've reached the end of the 3 years and it's time for our payment to change. What will our new payment be? So what are the issues? First of all, if you recall once again from the chapter on the legal side of mortgages, there's always the possibility of having an interest rate or payment cap that will place a limit on how much the lender can change the payment or interest rate at any one point in time. Now let's suppose, just to make the change more dramatic, that our loan does not have any such caps. So how do we calculate the new payment? Well, the first step is to figure out how much we still owe on the loan at the time of the interest rate change. So we go to our good friend the amort function. Once again, calculate the loan's payment again to make sure you're using the right loan terms. Go to amort, set P1 to 1, P2 to 36, and you find the balance on this loan at the end of the third year is $189,104.93. Now the next step on this is to calculate the actual new monthly payment on it. Now what we're looking for here is the monthly payment that would be necessary to fully amortize the amount outstanding, which means to simply pay off what we owe over the remaining amortization period at the new interest rate. So translating these words to our financial calculator, we have a present value of $189,104.93, the amount we still owe. The interest rate is the new value of the index rate, which is 5%, plus the 275 basis point margin, which gives us an annual interest rate of 7.75. We divide that by 12, hit equals, and enter it as our interest per year. And we started with 30-year amortization. We've made 36 payments, so we have 324 remaining payments on this loan. Compute payment, and we see that our payment's going to rise to $1,394.52. Now, one note on this: the index rate that I used for this weren't made up. They were the actual one-year CMTs from early January 2004 and early January 2007. So if you were a borrower who took out an adjustable rate mortgage in early January of 2004 and had a 3-year lock on it, so the rate was going to not change until 3 years in the future, these are the values that you would have seen, and so your index rate would have gone from 1.31 up to 5%, and every borrower who was in the situation suffered through a large increase in their monthly payment on the loan. And you may note that 2004, of course, was in the height of the housing boom, and 2007 was at the point where things were starting to go bad. And so at the same point in time, you had a lot of borrowers see their loans get a lot more expensive, and so this led to a lot of defaults as well.